I mean, what are you thinking about, Jerry? Marriage? Family?
Well,
they're prisons. Man-made prisons. You're doing time. You get up in the morning, she's there. You go to sleep at night, she's there. It's like you got to ask permission to use the bathroom.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Thanksgiving. Obviously, this will be coming out in the afternoon. Everybody probably has had their Thanksgiving dinner, probably watched some football, maybe had some brews, maybe play a little football outside and whatnot. And I hope everyone's having a good time. Here in the Thinking Critical household, we are going to have a nice ham. I'm going to make homemade mashed potatoes. I'm going to make up some corn, some other veg, some dinner rolls, stuff like that. Unfortunately, I can get my hands on a turkey. I can, but it's too big for my oven. That is the problem that I have here. Hopefully next Thanksgiving we'll have a better oven. I do not know what I was thinking when I bought that one, but we will not make that mistake the next time. So we should have our bellies full. Hopefully you have the same. I wanted to have this video just to kind of talk about 5 things, and then we'll get into some level of detail that I'm absolutely thankful about. A lot of them have to do with comic books. Some of them don't. But these are the things that I'm absolutely thankful for as we're coming up on the third year. That's absolutely insane, of the Thinking Critical YouTube channel. Obviously, we've got a podcast now that's been doing very, very well. If you've been supporting the podcast, thank you very much. And we've been growing. I think the program, if you go back to when Thinking Critical started and you see where it is today, it's like night and day. I've absolutely grown as a host, a broadcaster, as an interviewer, as all those things. And I'm very proud of myself, to be completely honest, how far I've come along and the inroads that I've made, and the fact that I've been able to connect with each and every one of you. So I did want to do this, talk about what I'm thankful for. Hopefully you can tell me what you guys are thankful for in the comments section. Now, first and foremost is going to be my growing family. It's crazy when I think about it. When I started this channel, I had a son. My wife and I had one child in the house, and it felt like it was a lot of work, almost a bit overwhelming. It's one of the things that made my wife hesitant when she actually agreed to let me have this channel. Was like, I don't know. He's a handful. You know, what the hell? What are we going to be doing? You know, you're going to be working all the time. Turns out it's been great. We have got 3 boys now. 3 boys, 6 and under in this house. And I can tell you right now, this is a very active, very lively household. My wife is an absolute saint, and we have the most fun you could ever imagine. Basically sitting around with these boys. Obviously, for the last 2 years, we've basically kind of been shut in. Things are starting to open up here in the Philippines a little bit, but there's still a lot of rules as far as being able to take your kids out in public, which is a video from another day. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get into the things I'm not thankful for. Let's put it that way. But you know, I'm truly blessed. My wife, my wife and my children, kind of saved my life in ways that I don't want to get into detail on here because I don't want to start crying. This is supposed to be a happy holiday and all things I'm thankful for. But you know, to have these 3 boys, and they're all so different, but I can see myself in each one of them, even though their personalities are completely different from the other one. Even the 4 coming up on 5-month-old has his own unique personality. I can see it developing, kind of the way that he is, and just finding those really cool dad-son things that we're getting together. Obviously, it's mostly with the 6-year-old and the 2-year-old. The 4-month-old, you know, the dad thing that we do is, you know, I hold him and I tickle him and stuff like that. And we have fun like that, and he rolls around. But the 6-year-old, you know, we get to read comic books together. We read books together. We're starting to play retro video games. I ordered this handheld retro video game thing from Korea, and you have to put it together yourself. So I ordered some custom buttons to put on it. So when we get that thing in, he and I are going to put it together. He is going to be over the moon. And I cannot wait to do that little project with him. And then my 2-year-old is absolutely hilarious. He is I've never seen a boy more hyper. He's just running and jumping. He can climb anything, as my grandpa would say. He's quicker than a hiccup. If you turn your head for a half a second, when you turn around, he's going to be on top of something. And when I say hop, I'm talking almost up to the ceiling. He's completely fearless, and that boy can climb anything. He can already do more chin-ups than me, which isn't saying a whole lot, but it is kind of embarrassing when your 2-year-old can do more chin-ups than you. Then obviously my wife is one of the loveliest people in the world. She puts up with me. She's absolutely beautiful. She's a wonderful mother, a much better friend, and I wouldn't want to do this with anybody else in the world. So I'm absolutely thankful for my family. We're growing, but I think we're at a standstill. This is what the family dynamic is going to be. It's going to be my wife and I and the 3 boys and our dog. We've also got a beagle named Aurora. Not surprising that one's that she's named after an X-Men character. And then 2 of my boys are also named after comic book characters. So we've incorporated this in essentially every part of my life. Now, another thing I'm absolutely thankful for are the good friends that I have. I am very, very blessed in this area too. That people want to come onto the channel and they want to talk comic books with me. They want to become recurring guests. They want to talk with me behind the scenes. Maybe give me some information, perspective. All of these great friends that I have all have their own unique point of view, their own strengths, weaknesses, and I think I do a pretty damn good job managing it and definitely putting all these people in a great position to succeed and put out information that really fits in their wheelhouse that is going to best serve the audience and whatnot. Obviously, first and foremost, I talked about him yesterday on the channel, a little bit more of a lighthearted note, but Perch is just he's a really good guy. It can kind of get lonely when you're doing this YouTube stuff, especially when you're, I imagine a lot of you know this. I'm essentially working from 9 p.m. to it used to be 2:30 a.m. But with the amount of stuff that I'm doing, and then with the podcast and some of the other work that I'm doing, it's more like 4:30 a.m. And it can get kind of lonely. Obviously, here, it's just me. The kids are upstairs with their mom sleeping. And it's good to have somebody like Perch, especially, it does get frustrating, not only with the industry, but, YouTube can be exceptionally frustrating. It's good to have somebody like Perch that you can bounce things off, kind of keeps you grounded. When you're having a bad day, he can kind of pick you up and all that stuff. And, I wouldn't be where I am today without him. There are a couple of other people I want to talk about. Doc and David Smith. Obviously, Doc's one of the aficionados. I'm going to have a special thing for that. But we're not forgetting Doc. We'll mention him first. It's very difficult being overseas, kind of being an expat, especially with a hobby like this. There's only one city in the entire country that has comic shops, and I do not live there. And there are products that are only released in America that are absolutely things that I would love to read, like the Bad Idea comics with Robert Venditti and Matt Kent and a lot of my other favorite creators. Doc goes to his shop and he buys every single one of those bad comics that there are. He purchases all of them. He sends them over to David, and David ships them over to me. Shipping to the Philippines is absolutely insane. The fact that he would go out there and they would both go out of their way to get me these comic books, knowing because these are my favorite creators, they're not going to be released digitally, and I wouldn't get to read them otherwise. That's really cool that people would want to do that for me, and it really means a lot. There's Chris from Comics Explained. He's been on the Aficionados as well. Definitely want to get him back on real soon. You guys probably remember this, maybe a year and a half ago. My audio was getting really, really bad because my microphone, unfortunately, my kids had played with it and the microphone just was not working really anymore. And, Chris was like, hey, let me buy you a new one. And at that point, I had enough subscribers to be monetized, but it was very difficult to actually receive the slip from YouTube to get the channel monetized. And, I couldn't afford to buy a new microphone now with the kids and everything. Maybe it's 2 years ago. It was a while. No, it was about a year and a half ago. And he volunteered me. He bought me a very, very, very nice microphone that I'm speaking into right now. It works like a charm. I certainly have learned from my past mistakes, and my kids aren't going to be breaking it again. But, he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to go and assist me. And like I said, shipping, to the Philippines is no joke. It was probably more than it wasn't. He bought me a really nice microphone. But it was almost as much as the microphone itself. I mean, it's insane the generosity and how kindly people that I've never met in person really are to me. I have family members that wouldn't be this nice to me. So it really makes you appreciative. Obviously, the Comics Aficionados is kind of the what I consider the flagship program here on the channel. We stream every Saturday morning, and getting the panel together, and I basically, I'm the producer. I get all the stuff together, but just to have a group of people to want to come back regularly, want to talk about comic books, engage with the viewers, and just kind of be a part of a community is amazing. Fatal J, he's a good friend of mine. He's a great guy. I love having him on. Yule Carter, obviously, comic book retailer, has his own YouTube channel. Josh McDonald, who's a critic for Batman News, he comes on regularly. We also obviously do the This Week in Batman. Skip and Tosh, haven't seen him on as much as lately, but he'll be doing the Hawkeye reviews. He's going to be on the channel this weekend. Carrie from Nerdy Girl Creates, Larry from Larry's Comics. We definitely haven't seen him lately, but it's been hard to kind of get him back on the channel. Definitely want to do that. Aaron Sparrow does a lot of stuff. He'll be doing Hawkeye reviews as well. Jerome, the list goes on and on, as far as people that are willing to come in and help out with the channel and be a part of the community and talk about these things and make it an amazing program. I think a lot of people, that's their favorite thing. The Saturday morning Comics Aficionados, or listen to the replay, whether it be on the podcast or YouTube. Whether I hear people like to do it, whether they're working out and stuff. And, none of that's possible without great people that are wanting to come here and do it with me. And I'm forever ever thankful for that. Obviously, the iconic Comics 4, Tim Lim, Mark Pellegrini from Common America. I can reach out to those guys. Well, Tim especially. Mark's a little bit more difficult because of his job. But, if I reach out and say, hey, Mark, can we talk this Sunday? He's almost always going to be able to make time for me. If I reach out to Tim and I say, hey, man, this thing came up. Can we talk in an hour? He'll show up. And I really appreciate that. And, he'll come on and talk about all the things, whether most of it's about crowdfunding and stuff. Obviously, Doug Ernst is pretty much a mentor to me. I reached out to several YouTubers that I respected when I was going to start my channel, just with some basic questions. He's the only one that responded. He's like, yeah, hey, here's what I would do. Here's some tips and everything. And, we've been good friends since then. He's obviously met me here in the Philippines, which is amazing. Another one is Eric Canetti. Obviously, he was at Wildstorm, got his own Arc Athena series out. Looks like book 2 is going to be coming out somewhat soon. And he's just one of the nicest, most well-spoken people you ever meet in your life. And for those guys to come on and contribute and really want to be part of the community is amazing. Gervain, obviously, he's a comics aficionado, but with it's complicated stuff, we started out to do something specific with that show. We wanted to show people that you can disagree, you can have different points of view, and you can have healthy conversations. There can be positive discourse, even when you don't agree with things. When you think about where Gervain and I come from, obviously we are we're both Gen Xers, so we're about the same age, but I'm a white guy, he's a black guy. I'm from the country of Missouri. He's from, I think he's from Brooklyn. I'm a conservative leaning independent. He's a liberal or left leaning independent. So we have a lot of differences. But I think it comes out that we're friends first and foremost. And that allows us to have these conversations. And even if we vehemently disagree on things, we don't shout each other down. And I think people really enjoy that program. Obviously, it's not coming. It's not here today because of Thanksgiving, but it'll definitely be back next week. So definitely really appreciate that. And Jervaine's really, he's just a great guy. Obviously, Joe Corallo and Eric Breen, we do the retrospectives. That was weird because those are kind of, along with kind of, it's complicated. Those are the lowest viewed shows, but those are my favorite ones to do. So I can't stop them. But, you know, getting Joe in here, obviously he's an award-winning comic book editor. Eric Breen's been reading comic books since before I was born. And these guys introduced me to so many amazing comic stories. And I get to introduce you guys to them too. And have these great conversations. And they're a wealth of knowledge as far as the history, you know, and, you know, the context of what you're reading and everything. And I do think we're able to introduce a lot of people to some really good, cool stories that they might not otherwise even know existed. And I really love that show. And those comic retrospectives are probably my favorite videos. And in It's Complicated stuff would probably be number 2. I really like Comics Aficionados, but it's a lot more work than you guys imagine. That's a lot of work to do a Comics Aficionados, more than I want to get into. But well, the retrospectives are a lot of work too, but man, it's so good reading great comic stories. I love that. A couple of other people, Neon from Clownfish TV and Yellow Flash. These dudes have enormous channels. And I talk to them every once in a while behind the scenes, certainly not as much as Perch and some of the other regular contributors to the channel, but I am small potatoes compared to either one of them, just as far as the influence, as far as the channel size, as far as viewership and things like that. For those guys to make time for me and talk to me behind the scenes and really help me with some issues that I've had here and there as far as YouTube and some other things, like I really do appreciate it. Those guys don't need to, you know, to answer my DMs or talk to me behind the scenes and stuff like that. So I really appreciate Neon and Yellow Flash for doing that. Those guys are actually really great. It really chats my ass when I hear people talk kind of shit on Neon and Yellow Flash. Those guys are both great dudes. They've never treated me with anything but with the utmost respect. And they know I have different opinions than them, and they know that I do put out you know, content that may be in contradiction to some of the stuff that they put out. But you know, we're still friends because they can handle talking to somebody or collaborating or communicating with somebody that doesn't agree with everything they say. And I think that says a lot about their character. And then finally, obviously the viewers, you guys are great. It's going to be difficult for me to like just name off all the viewers because I see so many of you in the comments section supporting the channel. I'll name off a couple in specifically. Mike was my very first subscriber. He was I don't think he's in the Air Force Reserves anymore, but he was like a navigator, like on a bomber or whatever. Mike's a really cool guy. Unfortunately, I think he stopped reading comic books. So he doesn't watch the channel as much as he used to, but I do see him in there every once in a while. He'll watch a video and he'll comment. And I always love that because, you know, he's literally my number one subscriber. He was the very first guy. You know, March Hare has been with us kind of from the beginning. Kenneth Dowling has been so supportive of the channel. He'll be on the Comics Aficionados this weekend. Lane Kramer, Callum Lyle. There's so many people that have been great. Dion, AL. I want to get in the name because I'm going to forget so many people, or not even forget. I'm just not going to have time for it. But you know, you guys are amazing. The way that the community treats me. And you know, I see every once in a while somebody will go in the comments and they'll kind of make a dig at me, maybe say some mean things. And I really appreciate that y'all stick up for me. And I read all the comments, but I need to start hearting them all so everyone knows that I am reading them. But it's just with the 3 kids, with the boys, I can't really do it during the day. And then at night, with the amount of content I'm putting out, it's really difficult to just sit down and dedicate like 3 hours to reading and responding to comments. But I need to definitely start doing that again. But you guys mean so much to me. And without you, there is no channel. Here's a few other things. Obviously, these will be this will be a little bit less time consuming and maybe less personal. But I really do appreciate the comic pros that I do see out there that are trying to grow the industry, that are trying to let people know that comic books are the greatest storytelling medium in the world, rather than using it as like a propaganda machine, which I think is one of the number one thing that I think is absolutely destroying comic books. So just a few of the names out there that I see, whether it be on social media or I see it in the writing and in the way that they're doing the stories. Like Mark Miller is one of the most successful people in entertainment, period. Just as far as comic books, he might be the most successful. You know, his Miller World Netflix deal is the benchmark. That's what everybody else wants. You see him out there. You know, he's super duper. He's super nice. He's like always going out there. And he's always promoting. He's always selling. You know, he's never really telling you you need to do this and this and this. He's saying you need to consider reading my comic book because it's the greatest thing ever. You need to go on to Netflix and watch the latest show that's based on the Miller World stuff. I think that's really cool. If you want to be Mark Miller, if you want to get the next Miller World Netflix deal, start paying attention to what he's doing, the way that he interacts with people, because it feels a lot different than a lot of comic pros out there. Todd McFarlane, another one that is absolutely above the fray. When you see him out there, he is always talking about how wonderful his products are, how cool his statue lines are, how great his Spawn universe is. Do you ever see him out there denigrating people over differences of opinion, whether it be politics or ideology or whatever? Screw that. He wants to go out there and he wants to make a connection with everybody, regardless of whether or not you agree with his politics or whatever. He wants you to know that he has the best product. I really respect that. You know, Todd McFarlane has, you know, like Mark Miller, he's got fuck you money. He could go out there and he could be condemning people left and right all day, every day. But he's above that. And it's too bad that more comic pros aren't seeing his, you know, the way that he portrays himself and using that as an example. Sean Gordon Murphy, you will not see him on social media anymore. He did the very smart thing to remove himself from that. But you never see him go out there and diss anybody. He was treated very dirty. I would not have been able to turn the other cheek on Mags Visaggio and what they tried to do as far as besmirching his reputation and who he is as a person and what he stands for, as not only as a comic book professional, but as a man. And he did. That is very, very difficult to do. And I have nothing but respect for the way that Sean Gordon Murphy portrays him, or not portrays himself, the way that he handles himself out in public as a professional, as a creator, and the way that he interacts with people. It's too bad that everyone drove him off of social media, but I do not blame him. Brett Booth's another one there. Brett Booth absolutely has differing opinions. You will see those on social media, and you know he puts his opinions out there. But when you go and look at his art, you see the comic books that he does. None of that stuff is ever in there. I know how Brett Booth feels because I've seen him on social media. But if I didn't see that, I would have no fucking clue. Because that dude, he only cares about creating the coolest art in the world. Another one, Robert Venditti, my favorite comic book writer. I've never seen... He handles himself with grace. He's another one, kind of like Sean Gordon Murphy. There was a time several months ago where somebody took something that he said that was absolutely, it was an icebreaker joke. And it wasn't the funniest thing in the world, but it was a good joke. And they tried to like turn it on him and say that he didn't care about critics' opinions or something. And he never took the bait. He said, listen, they're allowed to have their opinion. They took it the wrong way. Please, nobody go out there and say a word on my behalf. They're allowed to have their opinion. I just want to make great comic books. I love that point of view. Rob Liefeld, maybe not. Maybe he's a little bit more in your face, but Rob's another guy that's always out there selling, and he's made mistakes in the past, and I'm not going to deny that. But I just like the way that Rob carries himself. That he's of the comic book industry, but he's willing to call out BS and stuff like that. And he's also knows that customers and entertainment are the bottom line. And the last one I'll say is Peter David. I heard the guy is a jerk, but man, everything he writes in Marvel right now is gold. I got a couple of more things I'm thankful for. These will take a little bit less time. I think the DC stuff, like the TV shows on the CW, are buttholes. I love the first 2 seasons of Flash. There's a couple other things that I'm out there that I'm impressed with. I'm going to try and read watch Superman and Lois soon. But the DC stuff on HBO Max is amazing. Other than Titans, which absolutely sucks ass. But the DC shows on HBO Max, I have HBO Go. But Swamp Thing is crazy. It sucks so bad that we didn't get more seasons of that. I really hope it comes back. But the one I want to point out in particular is Doom Patrol. Shockingly good. I've never really even read the comic books, and now I want to get up and start reading about some of these characters and where these ideas came from, because I'm fully invested in what Doom Patrol is, at least for what I've seen in television as far as what's going on HBO Max. It is so good. When I saw Robot Man, Cliff, whatever you want to call him, I was like, that's a dumb looking character, but man, and after an episode and a half, I was fully bought in. I was like, I'm shocked that that I'm sympathizing in this way, that I want him to win, even though the character that has 64 personalities with all unique power sets, whatever. They've done a great job making that character compelling and relatable, even though I shouldn't be able to relate to somebody that has that many personalities and has that disorder. And it's just such a really, really good show, and they've spared no expense. The cast on it's amazing. Obviously, Brendan Fraser is Robot Man, but bring in oh my goodness, am I forgetting his name? Wash from Firefly. I'm shocked. Whatever, I forgot his name. He was also in Con Men or whatever. But that dude's a great actor. Obviously, we got one of the former Bonds in there as well. But it's such a good show. The effects are great. The team is amazing, and it's easy to invest on. So I found that shocking. I had no idea. I had been told that some of that stuff was good. I was not prepared for just how good it was. So, man, I'm really, really hope this Green Lantern show can live up to the standard, other than Titans, that they've set on those HBO Max streaming shows. It was really, really good. Finally, I do want to say this. I'm eminently thankful to AEW Wrestling. I love wrestling. WWE is so bad. I used to love NXT. That's the only reason that I bought the network, or had a subscription to the network, was I loved NXT. They destroyed it in 3 weeks. They just destroyed NXT. It's been god awful. A few weeks ago, I was watching an episode, and this new character started singing Sexy Boy and was dancing after this other guy had danced around him. I shut it off. I went over to my computer. I canceled it. I said, I can't take this anymore. I went and finally, after a few days, it's Wednesday now, I went and watched, or I started watching SummerSlam, or I'm sorry, Survivor Series, which was always one of my favorite events when I was a kid. It's so bad. So thank goodness for AEW Wrestling. I love that their pay-per-views come out quarterly, so you have really good build-ups to them. I'm able to purchase them here using the Fight app, and they're just fantastic. And Miro is my man, God's forsaken champion. He was God's favorite champion. He's just he was one of my favorite wrestlers in WWE. They would never do anything with him. I'm so glad AEW's at least giving him a chance to do something. But Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. I used to hate the Young Bucks. As long as they're heels, I respect it. But when they're babyfaces, they're the worst. But there's a few things I would change. But man, they have so many fantastic characters that there's too many factions, whatever. But they have the best wrestling. I think they have the most compelling storylines. They have the best wrestling characters. And thank goodness for AEW. I finally have an alternative when WWE is so bad, because I couldn't watch wrestling for so long until the Shield returned, and then we got the Wyatt family, and I stuck around for a really long time, and then it kind of all fell apart, and I had to fall off. Without AEW, I wouldn't be able to watch wrestling right now. So thank you to AEW, especially Miro, God's forsaken champion. You, sir, are a stud, and I cannot wait till the wife shows up on the show, and finally people could see why you've been so heartbroken since losing your championship and not being able to go home and face your wife. But those are things I'm thankful for this Thanksgiving. I know this went on for too long. I wasn't expecting it to go 30 minutes, but I am truly thankful for all the wonderful blessings I've had in my life, whether it be my wonderful family that's very young and growing, all the wonderful friends that I have here on the channel, a lot of the comic pros that I really respect, that it would be easy to fall in line with what everyone else in the industry is doing, but going out there and trying to set an example of excellence and professionalism when it would be much easier to kind of fall into what everyone else is doing. And then a couple of things I'm really enjoying right now. The DC program on HBO Max is amazing. AEW Wrestling is the bright beacon of light in a very not fun wrestling landscape in America. So I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I'll see you tomorrow.